Welcome, everyone, to the Dough Show, episode 1. I am Joyce Day here today talking with Jody Hoffman. Hi, Jody. Jody's a diamond leader in doTERRA out of South Dakota. It's nice to meet you, Jody.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the first episode.
I know. I'm really excited to have you too. It's really great. So, Jody, I've been following you for, at least a year, maybe a year and a half now. I came across some of your posts on Facebook talking about your make and take classes, which we'll definitely have to touch on in a little bit. And then joined into your Facebook group. And I loved some of the stuff that you've shared about reaching out to the other 96%. So we're gonna dive into all that. But before we do, let's get the numbers out of the way. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? How long have you been involved with doTERRA? What got you started? Kind of a little bit of your journey.
Sure. So we have been in doTERRA since November of 2015. We are Diamond, and our journey was that I was completely against oils. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was not interested at all. I thought I was too busy. I couldn't figure it out. I wasn't crunchy enough. And we actually found that for our daughter, there was nothing else that worked. We couldn't make anything work. And then an oil is what worked. So then we used them sort of secretly in our house without telling anyone for a couple of months. Because we didn't want people to think that we were hippie oil people. And so, as it turns out, we are. So we had sort of this secret that we were using oils. Well, meanwhile, I had done another direct sales company that was based in the party plan instead of network marketing. And then also, I have a background in adult education. So I have an advanced degree in adult education. And so, as it became more and more clear that we had this responsibility that we really needed to be talking to other people about oils, that really there were lots of people who needed this and that we could help them, we really played on those two pieces of my background to figure out a business plan that worked really, really well for us. So we started to teach classes that were fun and exciting and quick, because that was my big issue, was that I didn't have time to learn all of this stuff. And so we were able to meet new people that way. And then also looking at what do I know about how adults learn and how can I use that to help people learn about oil. So we started building in January of 2016, and we moved very, very quickly to gold. We went quickly to premier, silver, gold, and then we were gold for about a year and a couple months, and then we were platinum, and then a couple of months after that we went to diamond. So we're really excited about it, and obviously, and we have an awesome team, and there's all your numbers.
All right. I like numbers, and most people like numbers, and it's not ever something we want to focus on. It's just part of the story. And there's over 1,000 diamonds in doTERRA now, and there's 1,000 different details about how that it's a windy road to diamond, and sometimes it's a short windy road, and sometimes it's a long windy road. And that's part of what the Dough Show is all about, is bringing some of these stories to life and letting everyone see the diamonds' faces and hear their stories, and hopefully find pieces of their stories that they relate to. So I just think that's so cool. So do you feel like you were really good at home classes right from the get-go? Was that just because you've done it before, it was a strength for you?
No, because I am really good at home parties. We call them parties, but so I am really good at that. But when I started to do doTERRA, for some reason, I thought I was supposed to do it the same way everybody else was doing it. And so I just changed my whole personality. I changed everything, and I started to teach classes the way I had seen them, on YouTube or wherever. And, this very boring, dry, long class. And it didn't work. It wasn't effective. We were still able to enroll all of our friends and family because they trusted us, right? But in terms of getting people to want to have a class or something like that, we really struggled with that, until one day I realized that I was being ridiculous, and why didn't I just do what I knew how to do? And so I started to teach the class in a fun way, in a way that I wouldn't want to learn, using things that I had learned from Party Plan, and everything changed. And then it was fun and easy and a little bit different.
And how far into your journey did that happen?
Oh,
Like, was it a few months of trying it the education way, and then?
I think we built probably all the way to gold before we realized that we weren't having fun. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it was fun because I one of my strengths is like achiever and competition, right? So I'm always like, okay, how do I get to the next one, right? And when people hit executive in my team, I'm like, yes, you are so close to elite, like, right? Like, so I just want to keep going. And so I think that part was enough fun to keep us going. You know, I talk about it sort of like a video game. You know, there are some people who approach network marketing like, how can I get to the next level, right? And
Yeah.
so, and I do that too. And the cool part is in doTERRA, as you get to the next level, that's, 100 more people that you just helped, or 1,000 more people that you just helped. So really kind of a cool thing to do. But so I think we probably were gold, and then we got kind of stuck at gold for about a year, and we thought, all right, what's going on here? And so somewhere in there is when we realized, all right, this isn't what, we're not using our own personalities. I'm not doing what I want to be doing. How can I fix that? And that's when we it was right in the middle of a diamond club. We did diamond club twice. And so in the middle of the first one,
Okay.
everything kind of shifted.
Okay, so you had this realization, you decided you were going to try to be more authentic to your own personality. Did you come up with the make and take idea right off the bat, or did that come along a little later?
So we had been doing make and takes the whole time, but we were doing them like the traditional way, where that's actually not compliant. So sorry, but where people pay for their make and takes, and
Okay.
we knew that the make and take was important. We knew that something about the rollerball was important, because for us that made all the difference, right? We enrolled actually with $35 in a bottle of balance. That's it, and had no intention of ever using anything else. But our upline gave us a rollerball mentality set, and one of the rollers was called Anxious Mess, and I started to use it, and it really worked. And then I knew I needed whatever was in there. And then when I went to say, like, hey, this bottle's empty, can you fill it? And she said, no, but I'll show you how to get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I started ordering, and we ended up ordering a natural solutions kit then, not even on LRP. We didn't know what we were doing yet. It's okay. So so then that helped us into it. So we knew there was something to this, having a really easy way to use it, having something on the label that made it very clear what you were supposed to do or what it was for, that there was something there about doing it, making it that was good. And so we kept doing these make and takes, even though they weren't terribly effective, because people were just buying the rollerballs and not enrolling. And then when we realized, and we shifted over to the way we're doing it now, is when everything like completely exploded. So now we do one, you make one for free, and then after the class, if they decide that they want to start their wholesale customer account that night, then they get to make the rest of whatever the rollerball set is that we have. And so when we started to do it that way, it was like everything was different.
Awesome. And so from then, I mean, obviously having that make and take component, I know from experience, but I'm going to pretend like I don't. I'm guessing made it easier for you to book classes off of classes. Did you find that you had a lot more classes then after that?
So many more classes, and it wasn't like pulling teeth anymore, because everybody wanted to do it. Because at the same time, what I did was take my class and make it 45 minutes long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really looked at, what do I need to say? What is impactful? What do people need to hear? Do they need the entire history of everything, or do they just need the basics right now, right? So my goal is always that by the end of the class, that people understand that they need oils, and that I can help them figure out which one it is. But I've stopped trying to make sure that I've covered every single thing that could ever be a problem, so that they, so it's more like the condensed version rather than the encyclopedia of essential oils. So that changed it for us as well. And yes, people definitely are booking a lot more classes. They get really excited about the different rollerball sets. I have a little key ring that has all of our different recipe cards on it, and they like to flip through to decide which class they want to host. So then it's not even like, do you want to host a class? It's which class do you want? And they are going through, oh, do I want to have a class about nurses, or a class about toddlers, or a class about firefighters, or a class about, people in the military? Or do I just want to have a generic class about how people wish they could feel, or hormones, or moms, or whatever it is. So they just get excited about all the options.
Okay. So I'm just curious, do you have like, I mean, I know you design these things, so I'm guessing you have a stockpile of labels, but one of the things I was always worried about with the make and takes, I did take your course and I did learn about doing the make and takes, and I loved what you did. And I kind of took some of it and made my own stuff, just so that I'm terrible about remembering to order things. I'm just terrible about it. And then it seems like inevitably something gets held up in shipping or whatever. So I ended up just printing out my own 8.5 by 11 paper with the recipe on it, putting it in a sheet protector, and then printing out some basic labels that I could, if, it's the day of the class, I can just print out the labels, take them and do it that way. So do you find, or do people report back to you? Like, what if you only have 10, roller bottle sets, stickers, and you have more people show up? Like, how do you handle those kind of situations?
So a couple of things. One is that I think that the key to a really successful party is planning. So you want to have your hostess involved ahead of time. You want to be communicating with the people ahead of time. So I always book my classes for at least a week and a half out, so that I have enough time to communicate with everybody and make sure that by the time they get there, they already know and trust me. So it's not a brand new thing, right?
Yep.
So that said, our shipping is same day most of the time. So 90% of the time we ship out the same day. So if you book a class on Monday and decide what it's going to be, and it's now a week and a half later, that label will ship that day. So then you'll have it. So that's one thing. And the other piece is that the labels are fun and they're exciting and they make it like a fun thing to do, but you don't need them, right? I have done very successful classes where I have nothing and I use an index card and write, want to feel less stressed? 5 drops wild orange, 5 drops lavender. And then I put a return address label there that says less stress, right? And then I say, want to feel less anxious, right? And I just write down what to do, and it doesn't have to be the fancy label. So I think people get really worked up about the details and making it exactly perfect. But the truth is that it's not that important. You can do it really easily other ways, and also that's super duplicatable. So if you do it that way, someone else looking at it is not thinking, oh gosh, where do I get those labels, what do I do? They're like, oh, no problem, I have return address labels. So it can be easier than that. Yeah.
Awesome. And I love that. And I've always felt like your stuff is so accessible. Everything you teach is really doable even to brand new people. And I love that you put it out there like that you don't have to have every little set of labels. You don't have to have every little set, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, what's that saying? Ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice, or something like that. But just go for it. Just try it out. Look up. And I made my own recipes up too, because I just figured, I knew I had the oils for it. I didn't have to worry about that. And you can do it on the fly. You can create a new concept or a new make and take anytime you want to. And I usually have a couple of set classes, like set ones that I offer. And then I always have a seasonal one that's just kind of based on what's going on right now. And that's fun. And that way, if people are looking at it and they've already done one class, then they could try the seasonal. And I know you're always constantly coming out with new classes, and it's so cool.
We try.
So when you're making up the recipes, I know I have a lot of fun making up recipes. Like, I get done with it at the end, and you come up with 5 or 6 little roller blends, and I'm trying different things in my hands and smelling it. And I don't mix the official roller bottles right away. I just look up like the different oils and what their health goals are, and then think about what I want the bottle to do. And then I kind of pull stuff together, and then I'll play with the smells until I get something that I really, really like. And then I feel fantastic, like for the rest of the day or the night, because I've just put all these oils on and smelled everything. So, I mean, do you just do that all the time? I see you asking for ideas from people, which I think is really cool.
So most of our sets, we start with, what do we want the roller to do?
Mm-hmm.
When we've been, people ask us to do a nurse set, they ask us to do a military set, they asked us for the first responder set. And know anything about those. So I created focus groups of those people so that I could figure out what they wanted. So once I figured out what they wanted, then I do research about what is going to help emotionally, physically, all the different things for whatever the goal is. And then after I do that, then we try to make it smell good. So, so there's all the little steps. And at the beginning, when I started doing this, I ran all my recipes past an aromatherapist and a doctor, like just to make sure I knew what I was doing. So now I just do them. But so that's sort of our process, how we do it. But then there's one set, the cocktail set, that we did the complete opposite. So I wanted to have rollers that smelled like cocktails, that could have cocktail names, because that seemed like a really approachable thing that you could do to have people come over, that people would want to come to that class, right? And so so I wasn't really sure, but what we did was that my best friend and I went to a bar and we ordered the drinks that we wanted to have as rollerball sets. And then we smelled them and smelled oils until we found the right combo. And then we said, okay, what would this do?
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
These three oils together, what's going to happen? And then did reverse research to figure out, okay, well, cool. So a mimosa rollerball actually can boost your mood and elevate you and make you feel bubbly. Get it?
Ooh.
So that was kind of a cool way to think about it. Or as a hard apple cider could be something that, and that's not what we ended up calling it, mulled wine, right? So mulled wine smells like mulled wine, but guess what? It has all the things in it to boost your immunity. So we just had a good time going the opposite direction with that one.
That's really awesome. Cool. I love hearing those stories because, like I said, I've seen your stuff for a long time, so it's kind of fun to hear the backstory to some of your classes. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about, I just want to hear your strengths. doTERRA brought in the strengths last year, and it has been really fascinating. And I know I've enjoyed learning about it. And so just in the spirit of kind of exploring that with all the different diamonds, can you tell me what are your top 5 strengths, and how do you feel like they've really served you in your business?
So my strengths are strategic. I'm reading them. Strategic, competition, achiever, significance, focus. Wow. So the top 3, strategic, achiever, competition, they describe this to me, the Gallup people describe this to me as one of those means that you run to be faster than you were yesterday. And one of them means that you run to be faster than everybody else. And the last one means that you run because everyone's cheering at you. Okay. And so what I have noticed is that the combination of all of those things means that I'm just running. Okay. So I am always going. I have a million ideas and a million things, and I'm just always doing them and always moving forward. So I think that the top 3, those 3, that's how that has helped me. Competition and achiever for sure has pushed me through ranks. That I hit gold and immediately was like, okay, platinum, here we go. We hit platinum and I was like, hey, platinum's not that far from diamond. Let's go. Right. So those are happening there. As far as significance, I think that was the one that I struggled with when I first got it, because I felt like significance sounds like you just need to be the center of attention, or you need everybody to be paying attention to you, which I don't mind, right? But that doesn't sound like a doTERRA value, right? Like we should be about everyone else. Well, but if you think about it the other way, that if you use that significance for good, right? So, okay, so I like it when people pay attention to me, fine. So what are you going to do with that, right? So what I'm going to do with that is share and help people and help more people because people are paying attention, right? So I think that one worked out well. And then focus is the last one, which is hilarious to everyone who knows me, because I have the worst ADD of anyone on the planet. Like even right now I'm talking to you and like things are happening over there and I'm like, stop looking at that. So like squirrels everywhere. So I have so much trouble paying attention. And so having focus as one of my top strengths was like, wait, what? But actually it's about that ability to stick with something, right? So even though I'm doing a million different things, they're all under the umbrella of like moving forward with my doTERRA business and helping people with oils and all of that. So that's how the focus part works. So I think that helps also. There you
Yeah,
go.
so your focus is on the big picture and you're just got ideas and stuff coming out all the time to help move you in that direction.
Right. And then the strategic really helps because strategy helps me create plans to help me remember things. So I have zero memory. It's like I have a disability about memory, and so I forget things all the time. So the strategy piece helps me to make have a planner that works, and how are you going to remember to do all the things you need to do today, and put different routines in place so that that I can finish all of the things that I start.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it sounds, first of all, it sounds like we have a lot in common. Ideation is my number one strength, and I love ideas. I love brainstorming. And like I said, I ordered the banner for the Dough Show before I even knew for sure. I mean,
Oh,
I'm just one of those people that when ideas come to me, I can't help it. I can't leave it alone until I either fulfill it or I've explored it enough to realize that it's not exactly right for me. So, um, I know that for me, ideation can be a little bit of a double-edged sword. So obviously it's great to have ideas and we can do all kinds of fun stuff for our team. Do you feel like some of that, the ideas and that part of you, does that sometimes affect your team in terms of like, like I said, I bring things on and try to do things and realize I probably shouldn't have rolled that out to my whole team yet. I should have figured that, just sort of done it on the side sort of a thing. So I'm curious, have you had that experience yourself?
so not really. I think because for me, ideation is a little bit further down. The strategy comes first, and so I tend to sort of look at something and then think, okay, I need a solution for this. What about this? How would this work? How would this work? How would this work? And then I just pick something and I do it.
Hmm.
And so I don't. I think for the most part, we can sort of. My husband's top one is strategy too, so we together we can like get it together and do it that way. So I think that ideation, or having so many ideas definitely makes a problem in terms of like everything else in my life. Like
Hmm.
who's gonna, do my dishes, because I have so many ideas and so many things that I want to do. But no, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is overall a good thing. I love it. But I will have to have my husband watch this interview later so that he can feel comforted that he's not alone living with me because, I'm right there with you. I'm always like, we should do this, we should do this. And being in business, it just opens you up to I love being an entrepreneur and I love doing this because it's for the first time I've really been able to tap into um, being able to just be creative and do the things I want to do. So I think that's great. And I of course love me seeing a kindred spirit who's right there with me. So you talked a little bit. One of the things that I want to make sure I touch on before we switch gears, I've got one other question for you. Is you've talked about how busy you are. You've got all these different things you like to do. You're an achiever, so you're always pushing for things, which I love. I'm also an achiever. But so, can you share with us a little bit? What do you do in your day-to-day activities? What does your day look like as a diamond? Because at this point, according to the urban myths, we're supposed to be hanging out, eating bonbons and relaxing while everyone else works for us. And the money just rolls in free, right?
No, that's not it.
No.
No, that's not what I do, but I love what I do. So I think as a diamond, I certainly could say, okay, well, that was fun and just hang out. But I feel like I have a responsibility to all of these people that came to do oils with me, and also I really like to do it. So my general is that I wake up pretty naturally. Like I don't have an alarm or anything, but I just tend to wake up in like 6:30, and no one else in my house wakes up yet. So I take that opportunity to grab my computer and look at my numbers. I'm really energized by knowing exactly where we are in the month, and how far, how many do we need here and how many do we need there. So I start with that every morning, and I allow myself 10 minutes to do that, because otherwise I would like make charts and graphs and and predictions and things like that, and it would get a little out of hand. So I just check out where we are and see if there's anything It needs my attention. Make sure that I acknowledge anybody who promoted, so that little report that shows you everybody who promoted the day before. So we make sure we do that. Acknowledge people who have new enrollments, things like that. So all of that happens first thing in the morning. So it just sort of sets you on the right pace for the day, because you've started by figuring out exactly where you are and how awesome everything already is and exactly what needs to happen next. So then my husband gets all the kids ready for school and then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome. And then I still like get ready as if I'm going to a job, and I come down to my office. So every now and then I say I'm going to work from home today, which means that I'm going to stay in my bed in my pajamas and just keep working on the computer. I do that a lot on the first of the month, because I can stay super focused on, so many things have to happen on the first, right? So I can stay super focused that way. But I will on purpose, get dressed, come downstairs, and then be in my office and be like I'm at work. So that helps me to not get distracted by all the other things. Sometimes when you work from home, it's like, oh, but I need to get the mail. Oh, but the dishes. Oh, but the dog, right? And so being in my office helps that a little bit. And then I work until lunchtime. I tend to I focus on what do my builders need first, and then I look at all of the I know that you're supposed to spend 80% of your time on new prospects, but I start with my builders, what do they need, and then I go to the people that are already enrolled. Like, did I do all the things I promised that I would do? Have I had their oil overview? Do they have all their questions answered? Do they know how to set up their LRP? All of that. And then usually in the afternoon I do more things about prospects. I stop and eat lunch with my husband, because that's what you should do, right? And then I try to stop working completely when the kids come home at 3:30 until after dinner, if I can. And then usually in the evening, I have a class, an online class, or a business class, or in-person class, or something like that, unless the kids have like an event that I want to go to. But I try to teach as many classes as I can. So that's our whole, and then of course we get in the evening and I go back through and answer all my emails and my Facebook messages and everything like that. And then try to, say hey to my husband and everything. And then that's it. So I work a lot, but I think it's really important for everybody to remember two things about that. One is I'm not just sitting here eating bonbons. So that the thought that that's how that works is probably not accurate. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is that I love to do all of those things, right? And if I didn't love doing those things, I could structure my business so that I didn't have to, right? Mm-hmm. So that they were happening in different ways. And I think that that's really important to understand, that you can do the parts that you really like doing.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. So how many nights a week then? You said you teach classes almost every night. I mean, as a diamond, again, I think there's still a little bit of that idea out there that once you get to diamond, you can kind of let up on things. I haven't found that to be true.
Well, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but I'm not done, right? So my goal isn't to be diamond. Like, my goal is to help everybody who wants to be diamond be diamond.
Yes.
Right? So I'm not done. So mm-hmm. I don't. I think you can sit around when you're done. So we're not. So we teach an average of 2 classes a week.
Okay.
In person and 1 online. And then, so then sometimes we will have a builder meeting or a builder class. We do that, or I teach a class for other people who are building doTERRA businesses to help them. So all of those different things contribute. But the most classes we ever taught in 1 month is 29 in October of last year, when we were pushing for diamond for the first time, and we were in Diamond Club. We taught 29 classes.
I remember that, actually. That's crazy. That's awesome.
I slept at home 3 nights that whole month. So, but we had a goal and a mission, and our kids were on board, and what we did.
That's so great. I love it. And so the last thing I want to lead into is just something that you kind of just mentioned briefly, is that your husband's involvement in your business. So you started in 2016 with the building, and we're into that. So you've only been doing the business for about 2.5 years. Is your husband working full time with you? Does he work a separate job? How does that all work out?
Well, he retired in March, and now he works full time with me. But I think that it's really cool for people to hear how it happened, because I didn't realize what was happening as it happened. And then now as I look back at it, I think, gosh, like this guy had a plan, right? So it's kind of interesting. So he realized very early on that this was going to be successful, that this was something that could change the way our lives were going. Okay. And so he looked at what could he do to make sure that we got to where we were talking about going. So the first thing he noticed was that if I got up in the morning and started running around he just walked by and he's like, oh, she's talking about me. If I got up in the morning and started running around and fighting with the kids about what they were wearing and trying to get the dog out and all this other stuff, that I was so like, by the time everyone left, that then there was all this time that I was taking to just not, I mean, it wasn't how you want to start your day to be super productive. Sure. So he realized that if I just had my computer and a cup of coffee, that I would stay focused and be way more productive. So he started, when he hears me wake up and start, working, he gets up and he goes downstairs and he gets a cup of coffee and he brings it back and he puts it there. And then he goes and he wakes up all the kids and he gets them ready for school and he sends them in already dressed with their coats on. So I can't even complain about what they're wearing. And they say, bye mom, bye mom, bye mom. And then they leave. Okay. Yeah. So this was while he's still working a full-time job. So he'd take them to school. Then he would go work his other job that he hated. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then he'd be there all day long and he would come home in the evening. Then he realized, like after that, he was doing that for a little while and he realized that had worked really, really well. But he noticed that during the day, I would be working. And then all of a sudden I would stop working because I had these errands that I needed to run, right? Mm-hmm. So we needed milk. And so I would go to Target and then all of a sudden the whole afternoon is gone because I went to Target and then I needed to go here and then blah, 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 blah. And so he was like, if I could just keep her in the house, right? That would save so much money. Yeah. And also she'd be so much more productive and keep working. So he started to call in the middle of the morning and say, I'm going to run errands at lunchtime. What do you need? Wow. So all of a sudden he's taking his lunch break and he's running around town and he's going to the post office and he's picking up the milk and he's doing all this stuff, putting gas in my car, whatever. And then he goes back to work. So again, like now you imagine this guy, right? So he just woke up in the morning, got all the kids ready, gave his wife coffee in bed, went to work at this job that he hated, and then spent his lunch hour running around like a crazy person to get all the stuff done. Okay. Yeah. Then he realized that there were all kinds of people that weren't available to talk to me during the day, right? The people, customers or builders who had full-time jobs and were only available in the evening. And wouldn't he rather that I was talking to those people instead of doing the dishes or the laundry or the house? So this man decided that he was going to do that. So he started to come home and make dinner and clean our house and do the laundry so that I could talk to all the people that I needed to talk to. Okay. Yeah. And he did all of these things without complaining, which is an important piece. Because if he was complaining, then I think I would have been like, hey, well, whatever. So anyway, so he did all of this for probably, it was like 8 months that he was doing that. And then and so like every man who's watching this right now is like, what?
I know.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, right? So for 8 months, he brought me coffee in bed. He ran my errands at lunch and he came home and cleaned our house and made dinner for our kids. Okay. And he did all of those things while working a full-time job that he hated. And after 8 months, he quit his job. He hired someone else to clean our house, hired someone else to run all of our errands. And now he plays golf every single day. Okay. So he just realized that this end goal, like where he wanted to be, which apparently like eating bonbons and sitting on the couch, just kidding. He still does a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
He could get there and he could get both of us there by doing these other things. And so at the beginning, the way he participated in the business was by letting me focus on it. And so now he's home all the time. We work together. We do it together. There's like the to-do list just gets divided. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this. We teach classes together. We travel together, which is awesome. And he just left to take the dog to the vet, right? He still runs errands. But, we have an assistant who does most of the things like that. And we have someone who comes to clean our house, so he doesn't have to do those things. So I think he could just really see how different his life was going to be. And he just made the commitment to getting in there. So there it is.
Wow, that is amazing. And yeah, you just gave like a guided tutorial to all the fellows out there, or the wives, because
Right.
sometimes it is the guys that are the leaders, on
Mhm.
basically how to be supportive so that when the time comes, you know, you can step into this new lifestyle. And that's what that's one of our dreams too with my husband, is to retirement. And he's been so supportive in terms of taking care of our kids. You know, I've got two teenagers and a 6-year-old now. My two teenagers are now off in the military and at college. But I mean, I've been with doTERRA for 5 years. And so he's been there and spent a lot of nights hanging out with the kids and getting them to bed. And then I get home at 9 o'clock at night and all that. But it's really paid off for us in a lot of ways, and will continue to pay off. And now we're shooting for that next goal, is to bring him home. So I love it. That's so cool.
Yep.
Well, Jody, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been so awesome and enlightening. And I just know that there's going to be so many fledgling and experienced doTERRA builders out there that are going to get a lot out of this. So guys, you can look Jody up, Jody Hoffman, on Facebook, and reach out to her if you want to. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear from you and learn from her skill set, because she's definitely got some really cool stuff. And I actually, I will finish out with this. So I'm a hydrogeologist. My background is in like groundwater contamination. So I was working that corporate job and was just praying for a way out of my job, and ended up getting involved with the oils and launched my business, worked really hard, and ranked to gold my first year so that I could quit my job. That was my whole mission in life. But I'm a science background and I've never done business before at all. So I kind of struggled with like how to have fun in my business. And I can be a fun person, like in terms of like being silly with my family and stuff. But as far as like being silly in front of a class of people and trying to have fun, like I really struggle with that. In fact, I have a sciencey kind of a mind. So when I first started teaching, I would teach my classes just like you said, where they're long and they're kind of not super fun. There was no make and take component to it. There was, it was just education. They would sometimes run an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I would barely talk about how to get the oils at the end. In fact, I went out and presented the class in the state of Wyoming to my family out there. And one of my college best friends came to the class, and I was like, oh my gosh, Tara, I just really want to hear your input. Come to my class and then tell me what you think. How am I doing? So she comes to the class, she goes through the whole thing. We get done, we go back home, and we're hanging out, chatting. And she's like, you did a really good job, but I almost wouldn't even realize you were selling oils. You were so much education, like 95% of it was all education, education, education. And then at the very end, she's like, you barely throw in, and by the way, there's oils and kits if you want some, kind of a thing. And I wasn't quite that bad. But so yeah, I really find people like you that just have that natural affinity for being playful, having fun, teaching people like me how to lighten up and to be more spontaneous, and also to shorten my classes. It's been really helpful. So I just want to say thanks for that. And I'm sure others will feel the same way. You're helping out us sciencey, techie minded people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up for today. Tune in again. This is the Doe Show. We're here to support and provide community and just fun stories from doTERRA builders to doTERRA builders. So if you're on your way, working your business, and just looking for some fun stories and experiences, this is the place to be. You can click the subscribe button so that you can get notified every time we post a new show, and watch for us on iTunes, because our goal here as we build up this collection of interviews is actually to publish this as a podcast. So you can look for us on iTunes, hopefully in the next few weeks. So thanks so much for joining us, Jody. You are so awesome. I will see you on Facebook.